He says, I've been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. Jesus gave himself for all of us. Again, quoting from the Quarterly, in the ultimate display of God's love, the cross, we see that Christ gave himself for us of his own free will. Christ laid down his life of his own initiative. No one took his life from him. He freely offered it according to the plan of redemption agreed upon in heaven before the foundation of the world, unquote. See, God did not create evil. He did not plan for it to happen, but because he's omniscient, all-knowing, evil did not catch him by surprise. In fact, he foresaw the existence, and he already had a plan. I love what Paul says in 2 Timothy 1:9. He says, God saved us not according to our works, but according to his own purpose and grace, which was given to us in Christ Jesus before time began. Before the person of Jesus Christ existed, he was planned. This whole thing was planned. Grace, God's unmerited favor that cannot be earned by works. Before time began, before God created the cosmos, before he laid the foundation of our world, he planned to save all people who would come into covenant relationship with him. His plan to save humanity has always been, and trust me in this, if you don't know it, then I want you to watch our series called Spotless or get the book. God's plan of salvation has always been salvation by grace through righteousness by faith. I'm emphasizing this because I grew up thinking the God of the Old Testament was old. He had a different plan, a different dispensation. And then the New Testament God, the God of love, shows up with this new plan. No, it's always been salvation by grace. And before, that's the good news, really. The Old Testament were saved by looking forward to the coming Messiah. We are saved by looking back at the Messiah. So before he created our world, this good news gospel, the Revelation 14:6 talks about the everlasting gospel. This is the everlasting gospel. Before he created the world, God, the second person of the Godhead, they all agreed he would come down, become our substitute, pay our penalty for sin, and satisfy his own justice. See, love and justice are like a two-sided coin. They cannot be separated. And in anticipation of the cross, he was the Lamb who was slain from the foundation of the world. That's what Revelation 13:8 says. And the good news is that Hebrews 13:20 talks about Christ's blood being the blood of the everlasting covenant. He ratified this covenant. He signed, sealed, and delivered this covenant by his own precious blood to cover the sin debt of humanity. What a God we have. 2 Corinthians 5:21. This is the essence or the goal of God's covenant of righteousness by faith. It says in 2 Corinthians 5:21, God made him, Christ, the person of Jesus Christ, who knew no sin. He was spotless.